Hi, this is Dr. Michelle Pierce Mobley, and I want to welcome you to another segment of Tabernacle Talks. And you know me, I always have questions. But tonight we're going to be talking about the COVID-19 vaccine. And that's a topic that everyone has been talking about, not just in the United States, but across the globe. And tonight I have some experts from the field of pharmacy, pharmacists extraordinaire, that I'm going to allow to introduce themselves so they can talk about the importance of the vaccine. We all know that COVID-19 has ravaged communities, torn families apart. And I know that many of you out in the audience are wondering who should take it. Well, that's you. Why should I take it? Because it will save your life. And when should I take it? We're going to give you some guidance from the state of Ohio, but because we know we have a global audience, you're going to have to really be paying attention to why you should take it, when you should take it, and do your research in terms of where you should take it. So tonight, I feel very confident that when we finish tonight, you're going to be equipped with all the information you need to be able to make a life-saving decision. And again, this is going to be a life-saving decision for you, your family members, your loved ones. If you are a parent, you know, you're going to have probably aging parents that you need to make these decisions for. So please take a couple of minutes, get your notepads out, take lots of notes. We certainly will be able to communicate with you via Facebook Live if you have questions. This is the time to get your questions out there, and we'll try to get them answered. First, I'd like to introduce one of our first guests.
Hi, my name is Greg Braylock. I am the pharmacy manager at Zeke's Family Pharmacy. I've been a pharmacist now for about 25 and a half years. 25 of those years, or almost 25 of those years, I spent with Walgreens Pharmacy, and I've now been with Zeke's for about 10 months. And we've been working really long hours and hard on the COVID vaccines and the COVID virus. So we are happy to be here today, and we welcome any questions to come our way.
And we have one additional guest.
All right. My name is Emmanuel. I'm also a pharmacist at Zeke's Family Pharmacy. I'm a recent grad from the University of Toledo. I graduated last year, May. Really excited to be part of the team here. You know, we're working and doing our best to make sure we serve our community, because that's what we're here for. So we're really excited to be here on the show today, and thank you very much.
Okay, great. I've got tons of questions. And so I guess my first question is, in order to be able to administer the COVID vaccine, you had to be a registered provider. And can you tell me what the requirements are for you to be a registered provider to be able to give the vaccine?
Okay, thank you for that question. Emmanuel is actually our clinical pharmacist. Even though we call him our young pup, he is very knowledgeable, and he sort of spearheaded that part of this journey. So I'm going to turn that question over to Emmanuel.
Okay, great, Emmanuel.
Thank you very much, Greg. So the process of getting the vaccine, the first step in getting the vaccine and being able to administer the vaccine is that the state of Ohio requires you to be registered as a vaccine provider. Now that entails a couple of things. They want to make sure you're able to handle the vaccines properly.
Oh, sorry.
They want to make sure you're able to handle the vaccines properly. Make sure you're able to keep with the guidelines in terms of administering the vaccines to the right patient population. So,
Give him your mic.
all right. So the first step in being able to provide the vaccine, as I mentioned, sorry about the interruption, is you have to get registered to be able to provide the vaccine. Now,
what that entails would involve you listing the amount of providers you have at the site where you're going to be providing the vaccine, and also listing the type of equipment you have to be able to store the vaccine. Now, the 2 vaccines that have been approved by the FDA, given emergency authorization by the FDA, have very stringent requirements in terms of being able to store those vaccines. So a big part of the process of getting certified or approved to be able to give the COVID-19 vaccine is making sure you have the right equipment. So providers go ahead and, register, provide necessary information, how many patients they're able to essentially vaccinate. So the key takeaway from the process of getting registered as a provider is really making sure you have the materials and the equipment to be able to manage the vaccines properly. A big part of that is also what we call the cold chain management. And that cold chain management will essentially ensure that the vaccines are in the right temperature throughout the whole process, from when you receive the vaccine as a provider and until when the vaccine goes into the arm of a patient and saves a life.
Wow.
All right. So as I was saying, the process of getting the vaccination, a provider would have to get registered. And once you get registered, it's a very seamless process. I know in Ohio State they have a hotline where you call if you have any issues in terms of getting registered to receive the vaccine as a provider. And once you do that, you basically complete the enrollment process. You're able to certify that you're essentially ready to get the vaccine. Now, one of the critical components of getting registered is also being able to report that data to the state's immunization database, which is called ImpactSys. So all providers that are able to administer the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccines, are able to report real-time data to the state on how, who got the vaccine, when they got the vaccine, what arm they got the vaccine, and a lot of very important information like that. So it's a very, very detailed process, and we're really, once we got the opportunity to do it at Zix Family Pharmacy, we really jumped on board to make sure we could actually do this. We believe strongly in serving our community, and any opportunity we get to be able to do that, we take full advantage of that. So we, got registered, completed that process as soon as we could, and we started to get communication from the Ohio State Department on when we would get the vaccine. So to keep it real simple, essentially, everyone who is able to administer the COVID-19 vaccine has gone through a process that the state has approved and, essentially allowed them to get the vaccine. So it's not just any provider. There's a list of providers who have to be certified or essentially enrolled to get the vaccine.
Thank you very much for all of that detailed information. I think that's extremely important for people to understand that you have to be a registered provider to be able to give the vaccine. So when you're looking in different websites and people tell you, come over here to get the vaccine, you definitely want to make sure that the person that's delivering that service to you has been trained and is registered to do that with the state of Ohio. I do have a slide that I want to share. According to the CDC, and there's a COVID data tracker, the state of Ohio, and I checked this around the 9th, a couple of days ago, they had determined that they had distributed about 646,000 doses had been distributed, and that was about 5,000 per 100,000 people, yet only 223,000 doses had been administered. So I'm questioning, when you have that many doses that have actually been distributed, meaning they're in the state somewhere, but only 223 of those doses have been administered, what does that say to you? Can you explain to our audience why there's so much vaccine on the ground, but there's not been that many actually administered?
That is a very good question. This is a problem that we're having not only locally, but nationally. This is a problem. So we have more than half of the numbers of vaccines just sitting in the freezer waiting to be distributed. And what we at Zeeks have decided to do is to maximize the number of vaccines that we can give each day in which we give it. Right now, we have, last week was our first week of immunizing the citizens of this community. And we're looking to have 2 more days this week in which we're going to do the same. We're also looking to increase the number of vaccines that we give at Zeeks to double the capacity that we're giving now. So nationally, they're discussing all of those vaccines that are sitting in warehouses and freezer units. They're looking at sending them all out to all the 50 states so that the states can get them out quicker. And we're taking great pleasure and great pride in ensuring the vaccinations of our community and the people within our community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for clearing that up, because I found that just astounding that there was that much that's been distributed, but people don't have it yet. I know that there's a lot of skepticism about taking the vaccine, but I actually have a photo of what the actual virus looks like. So if we could kind of show that. It has a spike protein on it. Can you give our audience an easy to understand explanation of what the vaccine does to this spike protein, if you can see those spikes on there?
All right. So essentially, the key thing to understand about the vaccine is that the very essence of a vaccine is to be able to allow your body, every human being is equipped with certain cells that are in the body that can identify foreign things and attack them. So I would call this, the guys on standby. Now, these guys are able to identify different things. It could be proteins. It could be different things on the body of a cell. Now, so that's a very key integral part in understanding how vaccines work in general. Now, COVID vaccine is a little bit different in how it works, in that it doesn't actually contain the virus or any part of the virus, but it allows your body to produce a part of that virus. Now, that part of the virus is the spike protein. So essentially, you have these guys on standby, your cells in your body that are able to attack the virus. Now, when they see the spike protein, once the COVID-19 vaccine has been given, the body is able to make those spike proteins that the guys in the body can attack. Now, once they recognize that spike protein once, they already know what to attack. So they're on standby, full force, waiting to see that spike protein again. Now, the next time that they will see that spike protein again, it's when it's on the COVID-19 virus itself. So that way, when they see that spike protein, they know that, okay, this is trouble. We got to go and we got to kill this. And they go ahead and kill that virus. So it's very key to understand that the COVID-19 vaccine itself does not contain any virus. Now, it only contains a set of instructions that allow your cells to make the proteins that are on the virus. So, when your body is able to identify those proteins by themselves, it's able to attack the virus once it comes in, because you have these cells that have learned how to attack the virus.
Well, now you have given one of the most amazing explanations of the vaccine and how it attacks the virus, because again, that was a picture of the virus. and I have to show a picture because I heard you give this explanation, because people say, well, when the virus mutates, this vaccine won't work on the mutation. So if you can share with them the red shirt, blue shirt story so that people understand what the vaccine actually does if the virus mutates.
Thank you for that question. Now, the key thing is, like Dr. Michelle Mobley said, there's a couple of mutations they're noticing that the virus, is having. Now, mutations, just think about mutations of ways that viruses can change some part of themselves so that they can try to evade attacks from your trained cells, the guys that are in your body waiting to kill the virus. So right now, both strains that we've seen from observation in other countries, I know there's one in South Africa and there's one in the UK. Now, those two strains actually are not able to allow the virus to evade, what your T cells already know. Now, the way I explain this is let's say I were to be sitting here today and I'm wearing a red shirt, right? If I come in tomorrow and I wear a blue shirt, the fact that I changed my shirt doesn't change who I really am. So you're able to know that, okay, this is me, this is Emmanuel. You can see me. That's exactly what the strains that we're seeing now have. The strains are able to change some part of the virus, but not enough to change the very essence of what the guys in your body, those cells, what those cells can attack. Again, now this is what we have so far. The science is saying that that's what we're seeing so far. Could there be further strains in the future that could change and evade the ability of your cells to see them? Possible, but right now, for the strains that we're seeing out there, it's looking and indicating that the cells, your body can actually still attack the virus even with these changes.
Thank you for that amazing explanation, because people, if you don't remember anything else, when somebody starts talking about another strain of COVID right now, just remember red shirt, blue shirt, still the same guy, and the vaccine knows the guy, even though he changes his shirt. What are some of the most frequently asked questions when you are actually on the ground and you're giving the vaccine? What are people asking you when they're in the vaccine clinics?
Well, people are asking, will this hurt? They're asking, can I remove my mask and not wear it anymore since I have the vaccine, since I've gotten the vaccine now? The answer, of course, is no. You must continue to wear your mask. They ask about the side effects. Some of the side effects in which are the most common is soreness at the site of injection. It could cause chills. It can even cause fever. And this is just your body building up those army guys that Emmanuel was talking about, those guys that are just laying back waiting to attack the virus when it enters your body. Some of the other questions they ask are, will this be really safe for me to take? And we have to explain to them that, again, this is not a live virus. It is not something that's going to cause you harm. However, COVID can. Other things, it can cause headaches. But these side effects that people ask about are side effects that they are only there for about 2, maybe 3 days at the most that you're going to experience. You may even experience some excessive tiredness, which is also common as a part of the side effect profile. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to get all of these, but you may get 1 or 2 of them, but then they're gone. And I always explain to patients, 2 of these side effects, 3 of these side effects is nothing compared to COVID itself.
Well, I can actually say that I've had the first shot in the series, and I can tell you the shot didn't hurt. I can tell you that in terms of the symptoms, I felt just a little soreness in my arm. That went away after about 2 or 3 days. My arm wasn't incapacitated. I didn't feel like I needed to take any medication because of that. And I also felt a little bit of fatigue, but it wasn't fatigue that stopped me from doing the activities that I normally do. Those were common symptoms. I didn't feel the need to call a doctor for any of those symptoms because I had already been advised to expect those symptoms. So I think people need to understand, if you get a little soreness in your arm, if you feel a little tired, just plan your activities to understand that when you get that first shot in the series that you can expect that. So I'm speaking from experience. It was the Moderna vaccine that I've taken the first series, and the shot was, I wasn't afraid of the shot. I'm more afraid of COVID. So I'm hoping that when people understand if the shot's the worst part of this, I'm willing to endure that, to forgo having COVID or making my family susceptible to it or the people that I love susceptible to COVID. Okay, I understand that you've been charged with delivering this vaccine to underserved communities. Can you tell me why you've been so successful and what planning you have to just be able to blanket the community so that we do serve people so that they can get the vaccine?
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. Serving our community is one of the core values in our commitment as being part of the community. Our mission statement is what I was thinking of. And we are very, very committed to all segments of our community. This disease or this virus has hit our communities and community like ours the very hardest. We have taken the brunt of most of the deaths that have occurred with COVID, and it continues to this day. So we recognize that every single shot we give to a patient is one patient that is now protected from COVID, one patient that we have possibly saved their life. And because COVID hits us so hard, it's just so important that we communicate to the community that is the hardest hit, that we must care for ourselves and our family, our loved ones, and our friends. We've got to do that. Each and every one of us must do this for all of those who love us, who care for us, and who we love and we care for. Mothers, fathers, children, aunts, uncle, we must do it for them and we must do it for ourselves. So we know that the only thing that's going to stop the ravage that COVID has taken on our community is becoming vaccinated. That is the only thing. You can try to dodge it as much as you want, but people around you, just know this, many of those people, 50, 60% of those people that are passing the virus, many of them don't even know they have the virus. They're asymptomatic, which just means they have no symptoms of the virus in which they carry. So because of that, it is vitally important that we all become vaccinated and that we vaccinate our community.
I think you made some absolutely excellent points. And I have a slide because I want to remind people about the vaccinations that many of us have taken, and they're numerous, and these diseases are under control or have been eliminated because of vaccines. So why do you think there's so much hesitancy about the COVID-19 vaccine? I mean, look at that list of vaccines. We've all submitted to all these vaccines. So why is there such angst about this one?
All right, so a big reason why we hear a lot of people complain and stress their worries about the vaccine is the time it took to essentially create the vaccine. Now, it's so important to stress that, with science, things have to get better. We have to develop things better. We have to look for smarter ways to make things, and vaccine is one of those things. So the critical thing, and one of the things I had mentioned earlier on, is that this vaccine is very different from the typical vaccines that are made. As I explained earlier, the vaccines generally work by allowing your body to see certain things that the virus already has. Now, two ways they could do that before COVID was either take a part of the virus, right? So that protein, they take the actual protein from the virus and administer it as a vaccine, which is, an inactivated or a dead virus at that point. Or they could take a live virus, weaken it such that it can't grow, so when your body sees the virus in a very little quantity, it's able to attack it when the real full force of virus comes. Now, COVID vaccine is very different because you're actually not having to grow the virus. You're teaching your body how to make those proteins that it can attack on the virus. So essentially, you skip that process of having to, make all the, essentially grow this virus and kill them and purify them. That's just a very, very long process it takes to do that. Now, that significantly reduces the time it takes to develop this vaccine. A key thing, too, is, as we all know, COVID is a very, very deadly disease, and based on the information we're getting from the CDC, that it could be the third leading cause of death. Now, that's pretty intense. So a lot of organizations, science agencies around the world really worked hand in hand to develop something. So a key part in developing the vaccine was understanding the technology behind it. Now, that technology behind it was posted, for the whole world to see so that they could start developing the vaccine. So, in short, the main reason why the vaccine was, made in record time is the type of vaccine it is and, just how serious COVID-19 is. So I just want to assure everyone that, I as a pharmacist, we really live by the medical profession's statement of do no harm, right? So before we, decided to, go ahead and recommend this vaccine, we did our own research to make sure that it's actually safe, and we took it ourselves. So I know there's a lot of skepticism, there's a lot of hesitancy, but we want to assure you that the vaccine is extremely safe.
I want to share another statistic because I found it concerning. The Kaiser Family Foundation, they did a survey in December, and they determined and found that 35% of Black adults say they would not get vaccinated. Should we be concerned by this statistic?
Absolutely, we should. We are, once again, the hardest hit population of people, the Black and brown community. And because we are the hardest hit, we have to fight the hardest to just survive. And COVID, like many other things in our community that hurts and harm us, is something that will hurt, harm us, and take our lives. We have to understand that this is something we must all do. Not some of us, all of us. We have to do this. This is not a flu shot. This is not a pneumonia shot. This is COVID. COVID is deadly. And it's taken over 3,500 lives in this country each of the past days, each of the past 2 weeks, every day almost of the past 2 weeks. So we're having a 9/11 day with all the lives we lost in 9/11. We're having that every day now. And most of them are people from our community. So we must, in fact, become vaccinated. And just another fact to throw out here. There is a young scientist 34 years of age, a black woman, Dr. Corbett. They call her Kizzy, Kizzy. She was one of the individuals that created this vaccine. Look her up, Dr. Corbett. She, a black woman, was one of the scientists that brought this drug, Moderna, to the market. And we are even more than excited to vaccinate our own community with a drug that was developed by a black woman. So people, 35% of us not getting it is too large of a number. Please get the vaccine.
I've got some additional data that I want to share. We know that the state of Ohio rolled out the vaccine in phases, and I just want to share that information with our audience so you are aware that we began the Ohio vaccination program with phase 1A, and that was basically our first responders, people that were in congregate settings, and some of the vulnerable people in nursing homes. We're now moving into phase 1B. And I believe that I have some information available on phase 1B, and that goal was to save lives. And I actually have the schedule for phase 1B. If anyone out there in the audience has not been paying attention at all to what's happening, you'll see on January the 19th, age 80 and older, January the 25th, 75 and older, and people with severe developmental disabilities. By February the 1st, 70 and older, school personnel, and by February the 8th, 65 and older. This is vital information that we need to be paying attention to. And I know that Zix has been on the ground making sure that happens. I'm going to give you the final question tonight. What can we expect from Zix Pharmacy in this fight against COVID-19?
All right. So, like I said earlier, we at Zix Family Pharmacy, we're truly dedicated to serving our community. There's nothing more than that we want to do. So, moving forward, we are setting up clinics, vaccine clinics, which will be providing the vaccine to those who fit the criteria for the vaccine, for the phase rollout as Ohio government has announced. So I just want to stress that and say that we here at Zix Family Pharmacy, we're going to be doing all we can and pull in all the manpower we have to help provide the vaccine to our own people, to our own community. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to continue doing moving forward.
Well, I definitely want to thank both of you. Have been magnificent in the fight against COVID-19. And before we leave tonight, we've got some food for thought, and I'm going to leave our audience with some really important data that we're going to share on the screen right now. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Have a great evening, and please,